Well, there was one in particular that I wanted to get rid of quickly, so I dropped that down to 20, and as soon as it was 20, somebody snapped it up. Hello everybody, I'll get myself comfortable. It's Micheline from Micheline Makes again. Sorry I haven't been on for, I normally would post every week, but we had a bit of a problem last week. His Lordship's mother, who has already been in hospital once before about 3 or 4 weeks ago, because she had a fall, and then when they checked her she hadn't damaged her hips, but they found she had pneumonia. She rallied through that and ended up back in the home again, and then she's had another fall. This time she fell, banged her head, cracked her hip, and has had to have a new hip fitted. And we've been having to go and see how she is, and she's not too good at the moment. She was fine. She was quite, we went to see her last week, we went to see her before the weekend, and she was high on morphine or whatever it was, and she was chatting away, total gobbledygook, and we thought, oh, she's all right, she's picking up. But yesterday we went to see her and she was not too good, not too good. So anyway, we're keeping our fingers crossed. Apparently she's not doing too bad today. We're going to see her tomorrow, or is it the next day? His Lordship's, I've forgotten what he's had said, but we'll be going to see it. We're not sure whether how she's coping. It's a major operation, and I do know that she got a knee replacement many years ago, and she does not tolerate pain. For about 3 months she kept saying, I don't want my other bloody leg done, this is painful. So if she does come round, she's going to be in the same. In fact, yesterday she wouldn't move. She was moaning and groaning, and they wanted to take blood from her, and she attacked the nurse, and I had to grab a hold of her arm. She was asleep, kind of deliriously asleep, but when the nurse went to take her blood, she was going, leave me alone, leave me alone, and I had to grab her arm. I had to try and calm her down, and the nurse backed off and said, look, I'll come back later. So yes, unfortunately when you've got dementia they do get aggressive, and apparently she's getting very aggressive at the moment. So not good, not good. Anyway, I digress. This is Q&A time. Now I made a note of all the questions, but I forgot to write down who the people were that gave me them. I can remember a couple, but not all of you. So basically I've got these questions and I'm going to answer as best I can. Now I'm hoping, it's Monday today. Is it Monday? No, it's Tuesday. I'm losing all track of days. Tuesday. I was hoping I might get this posted tonight. No good, because it's 9:15, and it may not be till tomorrow because I've got to tie everything up with my with the vlog before I can show you it. Sorry, I've got something in my eye. Anyway, so the questions are as follows. I've written them down. The first one was destashing. How do you do it? Which sites would you use, if any, and what are the pitfalls? I think that was Alison who sent me that. I can't remember. I think it was you, Alison. Anyway, yes, destashing. I know a lot of you, like me, have bought fabric. We've gone down this rabbit hole buying fabric because we liked it, and we've ended up with a lot of stash with stuff that we've never made. I'm gradually whittling mine down. I'm making lots and lots of garments. You can do it a number of ways. You could donate your fabric to a charity. About a year or two back I watched I can't remember her name, Slap Happy or something. in Australia, and she kept talking about that she went round charity shops and picked up all this fabric that the charity shops were selling. Well, we don't have that round our way, but they're gradually starting to do that. So if you wanted to give your fabric away, you could give it to a charity and they will sell them in their shop. And I have noticed there's a few in the next town to us. I haven't seen any in the charity shops around here, but in the next town to us there are a couple of shops that sell fabric. What they do is put them in polythene bags and say what the contents are, and you buy and what the price is, and you buy it that way. Another thing you could do is if you have a sewing club, if you go to these clubs, you know, if you have a meetup. I did go to a meetup up in Newcastle once. I don't get a chance to go to many meetups, but I went to a meetup at Newcastle, and I noticed that a lot of them brought fabric in and just said, here you are, take what you want. And it was like a swap. So you could have a swap one if you're close enough to go to a sewing club. Yeah, I mean, a lot of you are saying, well, hold on a minute, I paid lots of money for that fabric that I've got. I don't want to give it away. So there are several things you can do. And all of them, they do involve a bit of work for most of them. I have started, basically what I've been doing is, I enjoy sewing, but I can't wear all the garments that I make. So I was looking at the fabric that I've got, and I've started, as you all know, those of you who watched me, I'm making garments, and I'm picking a pattern that I like, and at the moment the latest one is the Donny shirt, and prior to that it was the Donnell dress by Designer Stitch. Was it? Is it Designer Stitch? I think the Donnell dress. And I was churning out lots and lots of Donnell dresses, and I've currently got about 6 in my wardrobe, or 5 in my wardrobe. But what I started doing was I started selling them, and I did several things with them. One, I sold them. I went on to Vinted and I sold them. And basically, if you go on to Vinted, you tell them it's a handmade one, you show as many pictures as you can, and you describe what it's like, and you basically put a price for it. Now, because most of the fabric that I use is very basic fabric, it's nice fabric, but I haven't gone over the top with it, so probably I've not spent more than £8 or £12 with it. So what I've done is I've tried selling it for £30 on Vinted. It wouldn't go, but I got lots of people liking them and adding them to their favourites. So then some of the garments are things that I've made, some of the garments are things that I've got in my wardrobe that I bought, and one is, I'm not sure if I sold one or sold a couple of dresses from them. Now the problem with Vinted, I've never used Vinted before, and I started using it, and the problem is people want something for nothing. Some people make an offer, so you put a price on, you list your item, and you say I said it was handmade dress, and I said that it was I described that it was handmade, never worn, because these dresses I hadn't worn, and you get lots of people favoriting them. And what I did was I stated a price, and I thought, well, I'm going to make it about £35, and if I get £35 I'll be really pleased. Some of the fabric only cost me £7 or £8, so I made the dresses up and put them up on Vinted. Got lots of favourites for it, but nobody bought. So then I waited a while, and I thought I'll drop it down to 25. So it went down to 25, got more favourites, and then I thought, well, there was one in particular that I wanted to get rid of quickly, so I dropped that down to 20, and as soon as it was 20, somebody snapped it up. So I sold this dress for £20, and I know that I didn't pay that much for the fabric. It was one of these companies, I'm not sure if it's Pound Fabrics or one of those, where I bought a 3-metre length of this fabric, and it was only about £8 or £9. So £20 was still going to make me a bit of a profit. And then if that person likes your clothes and they like how you've done them, they like to keep in touch with you, so they add you to their favourites. So every time you list something, they get to see what it is. And I have had a couple of people buy 2 or 3 items from me. I've had one lady buy 2 dresses and another lady buy a dress, and they both basically favourited me. So that's a good way. This is future me. And it's now Friday. I'm trying to get this finished and completed and uploaded for you, so hopefully you'll get it by Saturday morning. But I've just added this little bit. I've only mentioned the vintage clothes that I sold, but they also do fabrics. The fabrics, I'm going to show you an example of someone's site where they sell fabrics. I don't have much fabric, if any, listed on my Vinted page. So that's why I wanted to show you this one, where this lady or this gentleman or somebody has a few items listed. And I've just scrolled through to let you see what their Vinted page is like. Another way is eBay. Now I have two eBay sites. One is my shop site and the other one is my personal site, basically doing any clear out. My shop site, I have to put all the income through the books. My personal one is just clearing up the house stuff, getting rid of stuff, that decluttering and getting rid of stuff that I want rid of. And I've set up a second one. And I list things on there, dresses and tops and things on there. Because it's not my shop site. I pay more for my shop site, so I get more coverage. It seems to rotate more through the eBay system, and so people see me more often. And I could put them on there, but I don't want to put them on there because I made them. I want to make a bit of money for myself, so I put them on my personal one. And I've only sold a couple of things on there. That tends to go round in a circle, and I often find that people often buy 2 or 3 things at the same time and then it goes back round, and it could be a month or more before it gets back round. But you could sell on eBay. The other one you could do is to sell on Instagram. And if you have lots of friends who are linked to you, who are sewing friends, you could list those each day, or every time you want to sell something, list it on Instagram and say this would cost £10 plus postage, and you might get people saying, oh, can I have that? And a further one is Facebook Marketplace. Now, I've never done anything on Facebook Marketplace, but my daughter-in-law swears by it. Everything she wants to sell, she sells it on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it's more local. And she basically puts it up on there in her local area and says that you can have this. I've got this this outfit or this £10, and she sells it that way. it takes a long time to sell some of this fabric, because you're not the only one that's trying to destash. Probably every sewer in the country, in every sewer is trying to destash. We've all started getting on this roller coaster of buying, and it's this COVID has suddenly made us look back, step back and say, whoa, hold on a minute, I've got too much. Now, I thankfully haven't got overly too much, but by my standards I've got too much. And so really, you know, you've got to basically, it's the same way, you've got to assume that there's going to be a lot of competition trying to sell fabric. In the same way as an example is my husband's house, when his mum went in the home, we emptied his house, and he's been trying to sell the ornaments, and some really nice quality ornaments that she's bought when she's travelled the world and everything, trying to sell those. Now, unfortunately, during COVID, quite a lot of people lost their parents, and so they're all selling the same stuff, and it's not going because nobody wants them. So you've got to bear in mind that because you know, there's a lot of old people have died, there's a lot of people trying to sell their parents' possessions, and nobody's wanting them at all, and it's really such a shame. And I said to him, I said, in 100 years time there'll be a what do you call it, what's the show called, Antiques Roadshow, and there'll be somebody will show them an ornament and say, I've got this ornament, and the dealer will say, well, these used to be very popular in the 2000s or in the 1980s or the 1970s, and people used to buy lots of them. But then when COVID happened, they all died and people couldn't get rid of them, so they just threw them in the glass bins or they threw them in the recycling and they got binned. And yours is the only one that's left, so yours is worth £50,000. So yes, unfortunately, in regard to fabric, everybody's trying to sell their fabric and declutter, so that's not going to sell so well. And it's just a case of hang in there and hope that somebody does buy it, and that, you know, somebody sees what you've got and they like what you've got. So then the other thing with Fabric Destash, there is a website, and I don't know if it covers America and UK. I actually asked, you've got to ask to be a member, and it's called, what's it called? Where's my phone? I think it's called Destashing. Destashing, I'm sure it is. And basically people offer this fabric and say, I've got this, would anybody like it? So there's lots of different ways you can get rid of them, your fabric. But again, unfortunately, I don't think we are going to get back what we paid for the fabric. And that is the sad thing. It's I think we've got to accept the fact that we've bought this fabric, we've loved it, and some of it we might not be able to get rid of. So that is why I think I'd prefer to make something up with it and sell it that way. I might get a bit more chance of selling it, but obviously you've got to make something that everybody wants. And if it's something if nobody wants it, you're going to end up with loads of clothes that you can't sell. So destashing, the way I do it, as I say, is making clothes and selling them or giving to charity. We're going to go across to Barnet Castle tomorrow, which is 20 miles away, and I know that there's some charity shops, and I'm just telling His Lordship I want to take some fabric and donate it to the charity shops, because I'd rather, if I'm going to give it away, I'd rather give it to charity for some person who might be able to buy it cheaply and make something out of it. So I will destash that way. Do you have any other hobbies or interests besides sewing and gardening? I'm a reader and do a bit of knitting, crochet and cross stitch. Not enough hours in the day though. Well, I'm the same, because I was always on the go, and I still am, but it's in a different way. When I'm not sewing, I am working with the engraving machine and with other things for my other eBay shop where I sell plates. So I get up in the morning, I come in here, get my orders done, and then if I've got any time left I start sewing. Sometimes I don't always have time left, and then other days we're going off down to see his mother, or other times we are going, he wants to go out for the day, so we go out for the day. So I'm not getting done as much as I'd like to do. I did have, and those of you who've been watching me long enough will know that I bought second hand. Somebody on eBay was selling lots of wool, and I bought loads of wool, and I was going to crochet this beautiful bed, not a bedspread, it was going to be a blanket. And I started and I got about that much done. You start from the middle and you work out, and I think I got about that much done, and it's just laid there. So in the end, I think about May, I got the wool out again. I thought, right, I'm going to crochet squares, and I'm going to make a crochet jacket. I'd been doing the squares while I was watching TV on an evening. Haven't got that far with it. I've got about 40 or 50 squares done, but I haven't made anything out of it yet. Finding time, like the reader said, it's finding time. I used to knit, I used to crochet. I did cross stitch. I did lots and lots of cross stitch. I'll put some pictures up of some of the cross stitch I did. I loved it, and I've got 2 unfinished cross stitches up in one of the cupboards that I at first I used to take with me when I went on holiday anywhere, and I'd get it out on the first day and do a few things while we're sitting talking, you know, on an evening if we're sitting talking, because we used to go out with friends, and I'd sit and do this cross stitch, but then you gave up, you know, you just got more involved in the conversation, so I never got very far with that. So I do have cross stitch. The other thing I do is, well, I've got silversmithing. I want to get back and I want to make a piece of jewellery for all the grandkids. I want to do it sooner rather than later because, well, just because I want to make something. I don't know what I'm going to make. Maybe it's just a little pendant or something. But I would like to make a little something from the grandma. So again, it's finding time. I bought all sorts of things. Fimo clay. I've got Fimo clay up there. I've got felt. I've got threads. I've got the wool. What else do I have? I don't read. I used to read because I taught not only biology, but then they got me teaching English, so I used to read a lot, and my son's a high school English teacher, so I should be reading like he does, but I can't be bothered. I just don't have the time to read, so I don't read. What else do I do? I like creating. My favourite thing is creating. I'm always thinking. My father used to have a saying, "J'ai mieux que ça." As you know, my father was French. And he had a little saying, "J'ai mieux que ça." Whenever he went anywhere and he saw something, he'd think, I could do better than that. Well, I'm the same. I watch things and I think, I'm sure I could do better than that. Or not necessarily I could do better, but I wouldn't mind trying that myself and seeing if I can create that or create something even better. And that's me, you know, I'm always churning out things. I could mention something that I've just created over there, but I'm going to keep that secret for a while. So yeah, I'm always on the go, I'm always making things, but unfortunately the business here takes up a bit of time, and going to see his mother does take up a bit of time. And currently at the weekends, every other weekend, we entertain his lordship's daughter and grandchildren, because she's now a single mother, and so we entertain the grandkids there. So it all eats into your spare time. So yes, that's what lots and lots of hobbies. I've got a pile of them round here, not round here, but a pile of I keep buying things, and before I retired, I built up this cupboard, and it was my craft cupboard. It was my cupboard that when I retire, I'm going to do this. And the plan was that when I retire at 60, I'm going to do everything in here. And I didn't retire at 60. When I got to 65, I said, when I retire at 65, I'm going to do all this. I didn't retire at 65. And of course, when COVID came, I think I was 2020, I was 70, and we finally retired. And by that time I was so used to, while we were on COVID, I started carrying on with this little business. We sold our big business, and I just carried on with this. So I've got this craft cupboard full of stuff, and I haven't got round to doing anything in it. So I really must. I need to even declutter the craft cupboard. So that's what I do. A bit of nothings, I suppose. The next question was, have you a piece of fabric in your stash that you've had for a long time because you love it and just can't cut into it? I do have a piece of fabric in my stash. I loved it at the time. I still have it, and I think it must be, I think I've shown you it once before, but it must be, I'm 72, and I bought it when I was 33. So that shows you how old it is. I loved it. And I bought, the fabric was slightly see-through, so I bought the lining to go with it. And I had, in those days, the fashion was to have a circular skirt with elastic in the waist. And let's see if I can draw it. Hang on a second. Now this, excuse the drawing, I've done this very quickly, but the fashion was to have a dress. It was a pattern that I had, and everybody was wearing them round our way. I thought it was lovely. It was a dress that was kind of fastened on the top with a bow, and it wasn't so much fitted. I did a fitted thing there, but it was baggy there with lots of folds on it, sort of. And then the skirt came out really out here, and it was gathered, and this actually hung over the waist a bit more. And I made about 4 or 5 of those dresses, and it looked lovely on me. And I saw this fabric and I bought it, and I thought, oh, I'm going to make another one. But I never got round to making it. And every time I look at it, I think it's not my colour. It's not my colour. I don't know if I want it. And I'll show you the fabric. I've put it on to let you see. This is roughly what it would be like. It was drapey. I've just got a little belt on. It's not showing you roughly what it's like. It's just basically showing what the front would be like. But I thought it would be lovely because it was a drapey fabric, and I've got a belt on just to create that effect. And as I say, the sleeves were slightly off centre, off the shoulder, and I think the collar was fixed, like a bound collar, bound round the neck. It was a bound neckline. Then there was a gap, and then it was tied just on the shoulder, just off the shoulder. I remember that now. And so it was actually, you know, it just showed, it flashed a little bit of shoulder, not a lot. I didn't like it being too big, but it just made like a tiny little split down there. And I thought this fabric was beautiful. I loved it, but I don't like it now. So it might either go to stash, or I might even offer it to you lot. Because it's not my colour. It's got teal in it, it's got pink, I'll come a bit closer so you can see. It's got pinks and teals. There. And it's got this frill that goes down. It's got a little frill that goes down all the length. And it's see-through. It's like a chiffony. Can I go there a bit more? It's like a see-through, can you see? And I don't know, there's something, I just never got round to making it. And because I never got round to making it, it's sat there and sat there. And in the end I just thought, yeah, do I really want it? So it may either go up for sale or I might offer it to you. If anyone fancies it, I'll happily give it away. If you fancy it, it's the first one who can get in touch with me and say, yes, I'd love that fabric. I think there's about 2 meters or 2.5 meters. I don't know how much there is. And it's quite wide. It's probably about 150 wide. Let's have a look. Yeah, it's quite wide. Arm to arm. I haven't got very long arms, but arm to arm, and it's arm to arm and arm to arm and a little bit left, a little bit extra. So yeah, I mean, it's just sat there not doing anything. So yes, I shall make it an offer. The first person to say that they'd like it, who sees it and mentions down there that they'd like it, I shall get in touch with them. 40 years old. It hasn't changed colour. It's been looked after for a long time. It hasn't changed colour, and it's just so nice, but just not me now. I keep thinking that I'm maybe too old for it. Oh, do you want to see what I'm wearing? All bought. I'm on a boat day today. I have TK Maxx top t-shirt in navy blue. It's actually a Betty Barclay, I think. Is it Betty Barclay? I can't see. No, can you see? Betty Barclay. It's a Betty Barclay that I got. And I've got another pair of those niche trousers on. Can you see? I haven't turned them up at the bottom. I've just got them going straight down. And I feel really comfortable in these. The reason why I had these on today is because it's flipping cold. Yesterday it was unbearably hot. Then we had thunderstorms last night, which scared the wits out of me. I was sat in here and the thunder and lightning went off. I'm not scared of thunder or lightning, but I think it must have been right above us, because there was a flash and a crack. I actually thought it was going to split the building. I thought I had split the roof for a minute because it was so loud. And I just thought, I'm not going out, I'm going in the house. But yeah, so today it's been perishingly cold, so that's why I'm wearing these. I was wearing a beautiful dress yesterday, a homemade one. So that is about the piece of stash that I have.